So recently on this channel, we've been doing our Marvel rewatch, going through and watching every Marvel movie to get hyped for Doomsday, which is coming out hopefully next year if there's no more delays. This kind of made me realize that up until this point, I haven't been using my Disney Plus subscription to its fullest. And while I'm paying for it, I should be using it to its fullest. So, this is why I watched every Pixar short ever made. Kind of. So, the thing with the Pixar shorts is there's lots of subcategories of what is technically a Pixar short. Are we just going over the ones that play before the movies? Or are we going over the Mater's Tall Tales and all that stuff? So just to clarify, I was using the Disney Plus Pixar shorts list and making some exclusions personally, just because I didn't think that they were necessary. So we were excluding Toy Story tunes, Cars tunes, and Disney Plus series, short series, anything like that. So my list mainly includes all theatrical shorts, original shorts, and Spark shorts. So Spark shorts were the Disney Plus thing. So anyway, let's get into this. And we're kind of going to be flying through them because, as we'll find out, there is a lot. So originally I planned to watch all of these in a day, in probably about 1 to 2 hours. I was kind of thinking it was going to be around 1 because I thought most of these shorts were like 2-3 minutes. And I'd completely forgotten about the Spark shorts and stuff being closer to 12. So it ended up taking a few days to actually get through all this stuff. But anyway, so we're going to start in the 1980s Pixar, okay? So these were early experimental shorts. So to start off, we have The Adventures of Andre and Wally B. So this was a simple but good short about a bee, and it's with this other character. It's not that complicated. They're getting pretty decent facial expressions out of these, but it's really not Pixar at that point. It's just an animation test. And we're just going to jump right into number 2. So this is Luxo Jr. So we get introduced to, of course, the Luxo lamp and the Luxo ball. And I know I've seen this one before, but I kind of forgot exactly how it goes, the dark lighting, and there being 2 Luxo lamps. And it was really the start of kind of the magic of Pixar and how they could use computers to make very rigid, realistic things like the lamp and make it animated and have a personality, which you could do with 2D animation, but seeing it actually realized, like look like a real lamp, and then them giving that character is really where Pixar started to take off with their own magic in the 3D animation area. Going into 3, we have Red's Dream. So I didn't know anything about this one going into it, and I was shocked when it was a tricycle as the main character. But the way they get it to lean, just forward and back, and kind of tilt like it's putting its head down, I was very surprised by the amount of emotion that they were able to get out of this. And I was going to say character, because it really is. It's a tricycle, but I don't know, it just has such an interesting personality. And they even get it to juggle, using the pedals to juggle around. And it was just fascinating to see them start making a real character, because the Luxo lamp was cool, but this one seemed like it had actual wants and needs, which I guess Luxo lamp did with crushing the Luxo ball. But this one was kind of deeply personal and emotional feeling. They had really dynamic lighting, which I wasn't expecting. There's like a dark red light on the building while it's closed, so you can really see them starting to make advancements in realism and stuff. Moving on to 4, this was Tin Toy. Now, for some reason, I thought Tin Toy was the first Pixar short ever made. I just remember the name of it. I remember the character. So I kind of forgot that this was 4th one down the line from what I can see. And it's a fun story. The baby in this is not realistic at all. I'm someone who's very, very, very forgiving when it comes to VFX. I don't need ultra realism to stay within the world of the movie. But this is just a point where you're seeing angled shapes and stuff like that on the baby character, and it's just not quite there. There's enough to tell the story, which is fun. It's like the start of the whole Toy Story idea with this toy being chased around by this baby character, which is just amazing. Similar to Toy Story, they find ways to have just fun ways for toys to interact with kids and how kids think when they're playing. And they have all the scared toys under the bed, which reminds me so much of the stuff in Toy Story with Sid's room. And when you get around to like the toys that are with Lotso in not Cars 3, in Toy Story 3. So I don't know, it's cool to see the start of all that Toy Story stuff. I think about 10, 11 years early. No, because I guess 1995. So 6 years before Toy Story would come out. I don't know why I was thinking 99. I think I was thinking Phantom Menace, because I'm a Star Wars guy, if you didn't know. So anyway, that kind of clears out our 1980s era of experimental shorts, and we're going to get to the 1990s. 1997, this is an Oscar-winning short, and it's this guy, and he sets up a chess table, and I don't know about you guys, I play chess every now and then I'll learn the rules, and then I'll completely forget it the moment I stop playing. But in movies and stuff like Queen's Gambit, it looks so cool. So it's cool to see it in animation, because that's something you rarely get. And he sets up the table, and you think he's about to have an opponent show up, and the guy that sits down is him. And he switches the seat, and he just keeps going back and forth. But then suddenly it starts editing it as if it were two different people. So it starts cutting out the moment in between when he's switching back and forth. So you're really able to see him kind of playing off himself and trying to beat himself in this game of wits, which is just, it's a fun idea. They get lots of good little moments out of it. He's laughing in a really funny way. He reminded me of like Palpatine, and he looks like Ian McDiarmid, the guy that plays Palpatine in Star Wars. I'll try not to bring Star Wars up too much, but if you look at the character, it's like watching Palpatine play chess with himself, and he's laughing about it. But yeah, it was just a really fun short, and I was surprised it was in 1997. It kind of seems like more early 2000s human animation, and they really started getting into exaggerating features of the human face to kind of make it still animated with the level of realism that they were getting in graphics, which I think was something that they kind of led by going forward, not going for ultra realism. So anyway, we're going to jump into the 2000s with some theatrical and feature related shorts, starting with For the Birds. This is another Oscar winner because Pixar is just so good. So For the Birds, I think, is an iconic Pixar short. I don't know if I'd be brave enough to call it the most iconic, but I feel like most people, when you talk about Pixar shorts, they'll remember the birds on the telephone wire. And you can see the character of the big bird kind of inspired Kevin. I mean, it had to have. If you look at them, they're pretty much the same, just with some color changes and some size changes. But their personalities are like very similar. But it's just such a funny short. You have this large bird who is seemingly wholly unaware of what he's doing to these other birds on the wire. He's pulling it and it's slingshotting him up in the air. The feathers are flying. And the little birds with these huge eyes are just so funny to watch. And I think that's a real iconic Pixar short that also played in Epcot if you went and you watched the Pixar shorts there. So I remember going in there and seeing that one a lot and remembering that one. Moving on to Mike's new car. So this is when we start getting shorts that directly tie into movies that were coming out at the time. So this is in 2002, Oscar nominated, and this was tying directly into Monsters, Inc. So we have Mike, obviously, getting a new car, and he brings Sully out to check it out, and at first I thought they didn't get the Sully voice actor. He was being very quiet in the beginning until they get in the car, but Mike starts having problems with the car, and they really start getting into physical comedy, which these other ones had hints of. But with Monsters, Inc., when you have this huge character and this tiny character, they really started playing around with the physical comedy. So Mike's like falling out of the car, he's messing with the engine in the front of the car, and I think physical comedy was just a big step because they were really going for these exaggerated animated poses with these 3D characters, and we're trying to push them and make them not just tell a joke, but be able to physically display something that would make you laugh. So I thought it was really interesting. Sully does end up talking. I don't know if it's the same voice actor, but Mike's definitely is, because that scream is just iconic. And I can't believe I'm blanking on the name, and I should have wrote it down because I know who that actor is. He's in Harry Met Sally. What is his name? Look, I'm going to have to look it up. Respectfully, I don't want to get on my phone in the middle of a video. But, and it's one Harry Met Sally, so I'm already falling way behind. Let me load this up. Just give me a second, guys. Give me a second. Billy Crystal. How could I forget his name? How could I? I think it's just because I was so immersed in him being this Mike character that I forgot the actor's name. But his yell is so iconic. They might have used the same exact yell from the movie, if not an outtake, because it was so exactly the same. But it's hilarious. Moving on, we have Boundin'. This is a 2003 Oscar-nominated short, and I vaguely feel like I remember this one, but it doesn't look like Pixar animation to me. It really threw me off. So there's the sheep. The sheep gets its wool taken, and he's super sad. And then this jackalope, I believe it's jackalope, hops over, but it's all, and he like helps inspire him to like still be happy no matter the circumstance, no matter the setbacks that he is given, which is a great story and all. But what makes this one really interesting is it's fully narrated by one person. One person is voicing both the characters, kind of like a Western tale song. So I don't know, it was really interesting, and that's the fun stuff about these shorts, is they're really able to experiment with stuff and do things that they maybe wouldn't dare to do in a full hour and a half movie. Yeah, it was good. It had a song. It kind of caught me off guard in the beginning, but it ended up making me pretty interested. It had a good theme. It also kind of poked at humans for taking wool and materials from these animals when obviously it's involuntary for them. So it was interesting. I'd completely forgot about that as a short. So moving on, next we have Jack Jack Attack from 2005. So this is the tie-in with Incredibles. This is about the babysitter babysitting Jack Jack as she sees him start having his powers. And it's just hilarious. I think everyone loves the babysitter character from that movie. It's just one of the many iconic characters in that movie. It's just hilarious. And it's just such a funny scenario. Like, the baby's just catching on fire, and she's not going, this baby has superpowers. She's like, how do I put this baby out of being on fire? And it's just tons of funny jokes, and they set it to classical music, which ends up becoming kind of a theme for Jack Jack and his chaos. But the classical music with baby Jack Jack causing antics and all these problems, it's just funny. It's simple, but it's good. And then obviously it shows them wiping her memory of this event at the end. So a little bit of Incredibles lore thrown in there. And I think they also reference that machine and the memory wipe thing in the second movie. I don't know if it was in the first movie. But yeah, it was just interesting. Anyway, moving on to One Man Band. One Man Band is, I think, a really big step up in the cinematography. So it has this fountain in the middle, and it's got two guys playing instruments on either side. And this character in the middle that is a younger kid with a coin, and he's deciding who to give the coin to. Who's the better performer? Who interests this kid more? So these people are kind of having this battle out with their music. But yeah, I think the cinematography in this one really stood out with the two different halves that kind of mirrored each other, and they kind of get brought together in the end. And I don't know, that's kind of all I have to say. The animation was really well, the music implementation was really fun, and the little kid character was hilarious. Moving on, we have Mater and the Ghost Light. Now, I commonly reference this with friends, and we'll just always be like, the Ghost Light. Like, it's just such a funny moment, and it's kind of niche. I don't know if this was on the Cars DVD. I have a feeling that it might have been, and that's why this is generally familiar to the Cars generation of Pixar kids. But it's just hilarious. Any time you get to spend with those Cars characters is just always so good. They get, I think the whole voice cast comes back for this. And yeah, it's just giving you more time to spend with these characters outside of the movie. Some jokes, some laughs, and it's just fun. Tow Mater's just a really hilarious character. Moving on to Lifted. So Lifted is from 2006. This one is about an alien trying to make, I believe, his first abduction, it's presumed, because he's kind of a rookie. He's an amateur at it. And I do remember this one a little bit. And he ends up picking up the entire house by accident instead of just the dude. There's tons of funny scenarios going on. And they fake out the guy that they're abducting dying like 3 times at least. He ends up accidentally pressing a button, turning off the tractor beam, and dropping him. They save him last minute. And they kind of leave him on his bed in this giant chasm that's caused by the UFO crashing. And it's the end of it, and you go, okay, that's it. The UFO takes off. And, well, actually, I don't remember exactly what happens. I was going to say I remember the UFO falling down, but I think he's still in the middle. But he, like, screams during the end credits. And I was like, they faked out him not dying, like, that whole time, and then they just kill him in the credits, which is kind of dark. But I don't know. Maybe he doesn't die. Maybe he's just screaming because of the panicked situation. But from what I recall, it kind of seems like he dies, which, I don't know. The rest of it was funny. That was kind of dark at the end. But it did make me kind of interested in Elio, I think it's called, which is the new Pixar movie, which I think is also space alien themed. And it kind of makes me interested to see how they're going to step back into this world, since Lightyear obviously wasn't the most sci-fi crazy space. Moving on, we have Your Friend the Rat, which is from 2007 to go along with Ratatouille. This one was good. It was educational. Has Remy the rat and his brother explaining the history of rats in the world, which was good, but overall, it felt a little long. I'm glad that it was educational in a fun way, but in watching all of these, I wasn't really looking for an educational video. It was good. I learned some new things, but definitely not an absolute standout or favorite. Moving on, we have Presto. Presto, I really, really, really enjoyed. This is about a magician and a rabbit that he has to do his tricks with, and the rabbit's hungry. So the rabbit starts retaliating because he's hungry and he's not getting his food. It just has so many good jokes that you can only get in animation. I guess you could do them practically, but the way that it plays out with the rabbit being involved is just too funny. The magician will shoot cards, it'll go through the hat, and then the rabbit will shoot the cards back at him through the hat. There's just tons of funny magic comedy in this, which is perfect for this because you don't need a whole movie about magicians, at least that I can think of. And this is a fun way to kind of get into that character, that archetype. Moving on, we have Burn E from 2008. This was to tie in with WALL-E. It's about Burn E fixing a certain machine part on the ship as WALL-E keeps messing it up and breaking it. I thought this was good. I'm pretty sure Bernie is a beloved character among WALL-E fans. You see a lot of merchandise, custom projects that involve him. They sell his plush, I think, on Pixar Pier if you win one of the Boardwalk games. So I know that a lot of people love this character and his design. He's pretty much just he's got a lint roller kind of design, where you just got this front bar that just goes up and down. But it was fun, and it would be interesting to rewatch WALL-E and see exactly what points are crossing over, because it definitely is. It has the defined dancing scene where they're kind of floating through space using the fire extinguisher, but I think it interacts with several points of the movie. So I would love to rewatch WALL-E, see exactly how that ties in, because that was fun. And I think it might be our only one that is during the movie. The Incredibles one with Jack probably is as well, but I don't know, a lot of these ones just get blurry and they kind of feel like scenes just taken out of the movie. So it kind of makes me want to rewatch the movies and see what was actually in that I'm thinking was just these shorts. Moving on to 18, we have Partly Cloudy. This was 2009. This was a good one. It's fun. It has clouds personified. This reminded me of later they kind of come back to this with Inside Out, I think, has like a cloud. I can say Cloud City. That's Star Wars again. But it has a community of cloud people. And it's got the classic, like, the rainy cloud character. It was good. Not too much to say about it. It was just a fun, different take on some new characters. Doug's Special Mission. This is 2009 to tie in with Up. And this kind of sets up how Doug ends up getting where Russell meets him in Up. It was fun. It was short, but it's a nice little lead-in. A little, again, you have to remember these were DVD bonuses, so it was just fun to kind of see how he ends up meeting the group on that hill, because it kind of just shows up in the movie, just up on that peak. Okay, moving on to page number 2, because oh my goodness, is there a lot of Pixar shorts. We have George and AJ. This is another one tying in with Up. It is just, it's funny. It's got a different animation style. It's, I want to say fully 2D animated, I would think. It's just about the two people that, I think it's Shady Oaks retirement home, and they're trying to help Carl move out of his house before he flies away, and they both see the house fly away. And this is kind of following after that, and their absolute shock of the situation. And I just thought it was really, really funny. And it's always fun to see them try different animation styles with these. Moving on to the 2010s, we have tons of short films. We have Day and Night. Day and Night was Oscar nominated, and it's from 2010. And this one is just really fun. It has these two characters that when you look through their body of their characters, you can see daytime on one, nighttime on the other, but it is the same terrain in location, kind of just split into whatever side you're seeing at that point. It was a really amazing, strong concept. It feels very much like Pink Panther or those old 2D animated ones, and how it plays around with the style and the concept through that style. And it has no dialogue, and these characters are trying to understand each other, trying to help each other see what's good about each other, what stuff you can do at daytime, what stuff you can do at nighttime. And then there's this speech at the end, which was, I think, taken from a real speech outside of Pixar. Not like a character, it was a real human speech thing. And it just is about people and their differences. And I just thought it was really interesting to have no voice the entire time and then bring in kind of this philosophical dialogue about difference. And then the characters both reach, I think, one, the sun is rising, one, the sun is setting. And they both align, and it's just beautiful imagery as the sky is like kind of pink. And I don't know, it was just such a cool animation style and concept. Moving on to La Luna. La Luna was in 2011, and this was older than I thought. I didn't remember this short being this old. And I think it's another one that's kind of standout. This one was also playing in Epcot, I believe. And it's about this kid, I believe his dad, and presumably his grandpa, if not some random old man, on this fishing boat as they get stars from the moon. It's like a moon made of stars kind of thing, and they kind of send them up in a ladder. And it is beautiful imagery. We get one of these amazing dad characters where their eyebrows are so thick that you can't see their eyes, and they just have this big mustache. It's a certain character type that we kind of see later in, what's it called? Luca. In Luca, we see the character that's kind of like that. I think there's also one in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I know that's not Disney or Pixar, but it is this certain character archetype, and it's just iconic. I think I love the Pixar Pier take on this and how they give out the stars, because I think it's an amazing short, and the stars are, I think, an iconic piece of imagery from him. So, I don't know. I think this is another standout one. Then we get into 2012 with The Legend of Mordu. Now, I haven't seen Brave in a long time. This is pretty much just giving a backstory to the villain character of Brave, which is this king or prince that turned into a bear through the witch and her deceiving of him and his want for power. This was hinted at in the movie, but we didn't get a full explanation, I don't think. So this is kind of just a further explanation on how this man became a bear. Moving on to The Blue Umbrella. This one is absolute beautiful imagery. It has the perfect amount of lowering the contrast to make the world kind of seem gray, realistic with this rainfall. But the red and the blue on those two umbrellas is so vibrant, and it's just beautiful imagery. It reminds me of those black and white movies that will choose to just have one or two things in color to really show their meaning, and I think this was a great use of that tactic, and it was just really fun. We get Party Central in 2013. This was to go with Monsters University. It's just a house party for Mike's group of friends. It has some really funny stuff as it keeps cutting between these humans, which are human adults, who end up seeing the monsters and ask the kid if they can stay in their room because they're freaked out by the monsters. And the kid's like, "This is what I've been saying. There's monsters in my closet." So I thought it's just funny. Again, the Monsters Inc., Monsters University characters are just hilarious. And just, it's more time with them, more jokes. So it was fun. Then we get Lava. Lava in 2014. Lava is an absolute standout in Pixar shorts. So Lava is about these two volcanoes. If not, it's a volcano and an island. And he's singing this amazing song. It sounds like Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And it's just this beautiful song with these great pauses and visual storytelling as volcanoes go up and down in the sea level. They can't hear each other, they can't see each other, they can't face each other, and it's just really emotional and beautiful, and the song's amazing. I connect the song a lot with the Polynesian resort in Disney World. They would play this all the time at Ohana, and I think it's just, again, another standout. I think if you play that song or you show them either of the volcanoes, people are going to instantly recognize what it's from if they're at all a Pixar fan. So next we have Riley's First Date. This was 2015. Hilarious Inside Out characters. It follows up right after the first Inside Out movie. It has amazing stuff with the dad character, and we get to see more inside of his head and the mom's head. Just amazing. That concept with Inside Out is just perfect. And we're going to kind of start speeding through some of these. Then we have Sanjay's Super Team. I thought this one had really cool colors, had just really fun cuts between what was going on in the real world and what the kid was imagining and the TV show that was on. I don't know. I just thought it was really cool with the colors and lots of the just stylization of the characters. It had really cool powers, I would say, because they were like these superhero kind of characters. And the emotion that the dad character had was really interesting and cool. Moving on to Piper. Piper is, again, I'm going to say it, this is a standout. I think this is definitely a top 5. This is about a bird that is going out to the ocean for the first time to try to get food. And the mom bird is kind of pushing him out there to do it for the first time. And the music is amazing. I listen to the soundtrack to this one very often. I think it just has such a unique and perfect sound. And the amount of character they get out of this bird character is just amazing when he first gets drenched in the water and he's all shaking. And the water and the sand is so realistic in this. It's insane. Yet the birds, again, are realistic, but they maintain an animated quality, which I admire Pixar for keeping over all this time instead of going for fully realistic, because then you lose some of the advantages of animated storytelling if you're doing that. So yeah, I love Piper. Moving on to Lou. Lou is number 31. Oh my goodness. And I'm kind of blanking on which one Lou is. Let me refresh my memory. Lou, Lost and Found, is what this one is about. There is a creature, not like creature, like a character kind of made out of the Lost and Found stuff. and there's this bully on campus. And the kids get to play with stuff from the Lost and Found box. The character was really cool design, had baseball for eyes. This was a fun one. I don't think it was standout, but it was fun. Then we get Miss Fritter's Racing School, and I'm gonna cross that one out because that one's not supposed to be on here. That one's from Cars. We're gonna move on to Bayo. So, Bayo is about this Bayo bun that comes to life and starts acting as the person who made it. Starts acting like their son, which is a really random concept. But the animation style and everything is amazing in this, and it ends up kind of breaking your heart as you get the realization that the Bayo bun is a parallel to her real son, and it does have a pretty happy ending. But it was just, I think this one's pretty good. I mean, when I'm thinking of Pixar shorts, this is definitely one that pops into mind. And fun fact, I tried my first Bayo bun at Disney World at the Food and Wine Festival in Epcot. So lots of Epcot talk here with the Pixar love there. Moving on to Auntie Edna. This was 2018, I believe, to tie in with Incredibles 2. This one, again, it feels like it's just from the movie. I need to rewatch Incredibles 2. I feel like I was just watching a scene from the movie because I could have sworn this or something very similar happens. And it's just Edna mode, spending some time with Jack. I think making him a new suit. It's hilarious. They set him to classical music again as he's burning, testing stuff. So like I said, it's kind of Jack's character archetype with comedy. Moving on to our next section. This is 2019 to 2021. These are the Sparks shorts. So these are when Disney Plus came out and they let animators write and direct their own little short films, and the whole teams would get on board and help them make it in their style with their story. So starting off with Pearl. Pearl is about this ball of yarn who goes to work in a pretty much all-male work environment. And she kind of conforms herself to be more like them to fit in. And I don't know, it was really fun. They drop a swear word in here, which kind of caught me off guard. But then I remember this was Disney Plus. They could kind of experiment with that kind of stuff, which was fun. I think it had a really good story, a really great concept behind it, and it was really fun. And then we get to Smash and Grab. Smash and Grab really caught me by surprise. It is pretty much a full episode of Love, Death, and Robots. It's just about these two robots who work on this train for fueling it and putting kind of the equivalent to coal with these energy things in there. And it's just a pretty beautiful story with these two robots with no words being said, and you get to see the robots' wants and needs. And I just thought it was really cool. Like I said, if you like Love, Death, and Robots, you'd probably like this short. Moving on to Kit Bull. This is about a cat and a dog. They kind of meet each other on the streets. The animation style of the cat is really cool. They are making a new cat movie. Kind of makes me think about this one, and this kind of lets me see how Pixar likes to play with those characters. But yeah, it was really emotional at times. It was just a really fun short. I mean, that dog and a cat is like a basic animation duo, but they play it off really well with a cool style as well. Then we get to Float. Float is this father has this kid that keeps levitating in the air, and he doesn't know what to do about it. He kind of ends up getting ashamed of him due to the people around him pointing, looking at him, whispering about what's wrong with this kid in their eyes. And he ends up taking his kid out to the park, and he starts floating and throwing this tantrum, and he tries to pull him out of there and make him leave. And then the dad finally yells, there's been no words in this so far, and he yells, why can't you just be normal? And I wasn't expecting any words in this short. And they finally break the silence with that, and it is absolutely heartbreaking. And this is a really emotional short, and you can really tell that it's made by someone who really has been through a situation similar to this, where they were given a difficult situation and had to figure out how to accept and work with a person as is and kind of see how that makes them unique. So I thought it was just a really beautiful story. Moving on to Wind. This is about a grandma and a grandson that are kind of caught in this wind tunnel underground, and they're making their plan to escape. And finally, this kid has this idea to make this rocket ship, but when they finally find a cockpit, which is a plane cockpit, it can only fit one person. And the kid sends himself up there, and the grandma says, we're going to tie this rope, and then I can just climb it. And the kid reaches the top, and when he tries to pull his grandma up the rope, a little box goes up there, and it's a gift from his grandma. And there's a lot of heartbreaking stuff in this. The kid getting angry at the fact that he couldn't take the grandma with him is a very raw human emotion. And it was just a beautiful short with a great concept, a great setting that's kind of iconic to this. And it was really, really emotional. Moving on to Loop. So Loop was in 2020. This short, I remember being really interested when it came out because it has a character that deals with special needs, and my mom is a special needs teacher, so I remember showing her this and being like, how cool is this? Pixar is using their platform to kind of engage in this, and I think they did it in a really sound and well way. And it's just a great short about the troubles of communication with scenarios like this and how it really takes a lot of patience. But when you do, you're only going to learn how to not deal with it, but work through it with that person more. And I thought it was great. And the title card was beautiful with it playing out over the lake. And I thought it was great. I just really like that short. Then we have Out. Out is about this male couple who one of the characters has not come out to his parents about his relationship yet. I remember this one getting a good amount of backlash at the time, at people being upset at Disney, of course, for including this. But I thought the story was really great, handled the topic beautifully. The colors in it were really vibrant and good. The animation style has this kind of painterly feel to the background, which made each setting really, really unique. The mom character was hilarious at the start, and then it kind of turns heartbreaking, but then it gets hilarious again. In the music, whenever the dog and him are switching bodies, I forgot to mention, that's like the whole plot of this, is the dog and him switch bodies, so he kind of can't control what's going on with how this is gonna come out eventually. And anyway, the music when they're switching bodies and it's like this cool vibey music was really cool. And I think the rest of the short kind of features like this drum based music, which kind of just keeps up the tempo of the story really, really well. Moving on to Burrow. This was a really fun animated style. It's 2D. It's kind of like those pictures that you'd always see in children's books back in the day of like animals living, like the two frogs living in like this underground place with like a fireplace. And they're sitting in chairs, and it's kind of how you always thought animals lived as a kid, at least I did, was like in this fantastical world. So basically this character, this rabbit, starts getting caught up in all of his neighbors moving around close, and he just wants to be alone. But then he ends up having to help his friends, learning that he needs to work with his neighbors, and he can have some friends there. So really cool animation style there. Then we get Lamp Life. Lamp Life is the much-needed story from Toy Story 4 about what was going on with Bo Peep in between that flashback scene that starts the movie and where we finally meet her in the movie. It has some really, really fun stuff. She kind of went all over the world, which was unexpected, but there's amazing jokes here. The Toy Story franchise always just does this amazing with how people treat objects and toys, in this case, a lamp. So anyway, that was that page. Let's see. What do we have left? We have a few left. We have 5 left. Okay, so we're all hang in there. Okay, I watched all these. You got to listen to me explain these. Next, we have 20-something. 20-something stood out to me a lot, and I showed other people this one after I watched it. This character who's going out to a bar has her personality split into these 3 different points in her life. I believe it's her when she's 1 year old, when she's 16, 17, and the other one's when she's 10. And it's like her personality is split between these 3 different sides of her growing up and how that kind of transfers into adulthood. I thought the concept was really amazing, how all the other characters kind of see her as one full person, but we are seeing her through these 3 different personalities. So when something doesn't go well, the baby part of her is crying. When she crashes her car, that's her 16-year-old self. It was just a really amazing concept. It reminded me of Inside Out. I think this would be a strong enough concept to be a full-on movie if they didn't do this. And it was just so cool. And at the end scene where everyone in the club, in the bar, is turning into kind of the younger version of themselves, and you kind of get to see how these personality traits carry over from being young to being an adult.
Okay.
And it's just hilarious. I love this short a lot. Then we move on to Nona. So this is a grandma who is ready to spend her day alone, watch this wrestling match, and then her grandchild gets dropped off, and she has to babysit for a little bit, and it interrupts her show. She ends up getting her TV to cut out, and the grandma gets emotional, but then the kid wrestles with her, but we see it as an actual wrestling match. This is a fun one. You can tell that it's really personal to the person that made it. It was good. Then we get 22 versus Earth. This is 22, the character from Soul, voiced by Tina Fey, and she's hilarious. She gets this group of souls that are unbound to Earth at this moment, and starts the apocalypse, which is her 22's plan to stop sending souls to Earth, because she keeps losing all of the people that she knows that keep leaving her space and going to Earth since she's left behind. I thought it was a great story. The character's fun. They got Tina Fey. What more could you ask for? Then we get to, I'm going to mispronounce this terribly, Caio Alberto? Sia Alberto? I don't know. This is a Luca short. I still haven't seen Luca. I'm sorry, world. I know I should be supporting these new Pixar movies, but I just haven't got around to it. But it was a really good short. I feel like this one would be more meaningful to me if I had watched the movie. But other than that, it got me interested in the characters. Might make me watch the movie. And then we get Self. Self is about this wooden character. In the animation is vividly like those 3D stop-motion animation projects. It reminded me a lot of Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. And there was parts in this where it was so vividly in that style that I wasn't sure if they actually captured this with a puppet and then like put it into a CGI environment. But I think it was fully animated. And in that case, they captured the style of the puppet theme extremely well. And it was a great emotional story. So with that, that is all the Pixar shorts I watched. I'm sure there's more. I'm sure I'm missing some, which if I am, let me know which ones in the comments. I will absolutely tune in and watch them. If you want to see more videos like this, give me more things to watch, and I will watch them and talk about them. If you have a niche Disney Plus thing that I've never heard of, that you want to see me spark up a conversation about, let me know in the comments. So anyway, what's your favorite Pixar short? I would love to know. Why is it your favorite Pixar short? And yeah, that will be it for this video on effortless entertainment. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. That was so much talking. That was a lot of Pixar shorts, and I feel like I barely said anything about them because there's just so many. But oh my goodness, I did it.